the kampeionschap van Vlaanderen, the championship of Flanders in the town of Koolskamp. It's the official championship of chemists. We've got a 15-kilometer loop that we are going to do 11 times this year, and we got some pretty impressive sprinters on the start list. We'll get to that a little bit later. 165 kilometers in total. We're doing 2 laps less than we did last year, actually. Last year the race was 30 kilometers longer. Beautiful sunshine here, not as hot as it was last week, but still pretty good racing weather altogether. We already got our oliebollen and appelflappen there, which in the Netherlands is more of a like New Year's Eve tradition. And personally, I wouldn't want to have oliebollen when it's 25 degrees Celsius, but that's just me. We are racing in Koolskamp, which is basically the town of Ardooien, and that means that we are in West Flanders, which is, maybe the people in East Flanders won't really forgive me for that, but it is the heartland of Belgian racing, and this is part of Belgian racing. Putting it a bet. You can see Jacobsen doing pretty well there. Our local man, Yves Lampaard, he is from the region. We see Ewan getting 6-1 there. So some big names there. Gerben Thijssen. Yeah, and this is what they do at these local races. Just give this lovely man your money, and if you're lucky, you get some money back. A statue to remember the 100th edition, and the only time it didn't take place was during the First and Second World War and during the COVID year. The local teams, Van Rijssel, Robert Lee Métropole with Kenny Molly, he was in the breakaway on Wednesday. This is the Beat Cycling Club from the Netherlands. We've got Human Powered Health there, Gage Hecht with a really big mullet there, Gage. Might need some hairdressers quite soon. I know he won't mind me saying that. Got Q36.5 with Matteo Moschetti, was of course third in the Grand Prix Fourmi only last week. Got the big guys of UNOX coming up with Blikra amongst others on the start list for them when it comes to the fast sprinters. Lasse Norman-Let there with the beard. And some colourful ladies there at the start as well. This is Human Powered Health, a team with 2 Belgian riders, Sascha Weemaas and Gijs van Hoeken. And Gijs van Hoeken is in the breakaway today. Casper van Uden, a name to look out for today for DSM Firmenich. Of course, sprinting really well in the Tour of Britain. John Degenkolb still going strong. The always affable German DSM Firmenich here. But I think Van Uden will get some, get a good opportunity to sprint today. Is your Premier Tech here with Giacomo Nisolo. He is currently in 3rd position in the Lotto Cycling Cup. I'll tell you more about that. This is Brian Coquard of the Cofidis team. He was part of the race action on Wednesday as well, with Max Walscheid here. Some nice specs there. Jelle Vallijsen waving to the crowd. Team Cofidis. Very small team for Lidl Trek with 3 of their stagiaires, with Tim Toortenberg, Martin Pedersen and Niels Abersold, but also with Jasper Stuyven and Daan Holen. Jasper Stuyven, he would be more interested in having a really hard race. The Nasen brothers are here, Oliver and Lawrence Nase for AG2R Citroën. Guys from East Flanders. We have Nasser Bouhanni. Hopefully he can turn his rather rough season around with a win. Gerben Thijssen pretty close to the win in Grand Prix de Fourmi. Just beaten there by Tim Merlier. Merlier is not here. He's racing in Slovakia. Important race for Quickstep because of their Slovakia sponsor. And we have Dylan Groenewegen, of course, as one of our main sprinters here for Jaco Alula. With Durbo, Hamish McKenzie, Luca Mesketch, Callan O'Brien, Elmar Reinders and Campbell Stewart. Alpecin de Koning, they also bring some fast men. including maybe the fastest of them all. There he is, Jasper Philipsen. 4 stages in the Tour of France, and he's got his lead-out train from the Tour here as well, with Jonas Rickaert and Ramon Sinkeldam. And Caleb Ewan, his 2nd race back. A new dad, his 3rd child, son Oscar, was born on the 30th of August. Grand Prix de Fourmies, he didn't finish that race, but he is the leader in the Lotto Cycling Cup. So let's see if he can bring that one home for the Lotto Destiny team. And then Soudal Quickstep with the winner of last year, and that is, of course, Fabio Jacobsen, in one of his last races as the European champion. Sunday, the 24th, we are going to crown a new European champion on the Van Berg in Drenthe. And then the start was given by the town caller, which is tradition here in Koolskamp, for 165 kilometers of bike racing. Flag dropped, and immediately we have attacks from the teams from the Netherlands, both Volker Wessels and the Beat Cycling team, Bolton Equities Black Spoke also right there in the middle of the action. Tartelett Isorex there in the yellow. But this is not the breakaway that we would end up with, because these are the 4 guys we have in the break. In yellow, Thibaut Verhofstadt, the Belgian rider of Tartelett Isorex. Just ahead of him, a Frenchman, Samuel Leroux of Van Rijssel Roubaix Lille Métropole. With 162 of Q36.5, it's the youngest of them all, Fabio Christen, the Swiss rider, and leading Gijs van Hoeken of Human Powered Health. He's 31, he is the oldest of the 4. Just under 66 kilometers to go, and the gap is just a minute. My name is José Bain, with me is Brian Smith. And Brian, with a field like we have here, we just saw the sprinters on our screen, this cannot end in anything else but a bunch sprint.
You would think that, but you know, we have been foiled in the past. But yeah, these kind of perfect conditions, and you know, just looking at it, it's a kind of cross tail, more kind of tailwind in towards the finishing line. And you know, of course, this lap, you know, we go around it 11 times, but it's almost perfect conditions. It'd be totally different if the wind was blowing a little bit. Then there'd be some echelons. Then we'd see something a little bit different. A little bit like Shelder Prize. Well, Shelder Prize is the World Championships for the sprinters. That's what they say anyway. But one year, Alexander Kristoff, because of the weather conditions, won it solo.
That's true.
But today, this is the king of the Kermesse course. And, you know, who's going to win? So I think with the conditions here, almost perfect. Sunny, 22 to 24 degrees, you know, very light wind coming from the southeast. Like you just said, I really do think this will come down to a sprint.
Yeah, for the people not familiar with a Kermesse, what is a Kermesse race? How would you describe it?
Every town pretty much has them. We weren't too far away, Ardoi, in the Renewy Tour just a few weeks ago. And for those who watched that race, it's, you know, very similar, flat, some small roads and, you know, twist and turn. But it's like, I don't know what you have in the Netherlands, but we have kind of town fetes, village fetes and things like that. Yeah. So it's a little bit like that. So every pretty much small town in Belgium, especially in this part of the world, has a Kermesse at some point in the year. Of course, they have different races, but I'm talking about pro Kermesses. We're just looking at this. Happened about half an hour ago, where Caleb Ewan, non-fussed, dropped his chain, just got off his bike, team car comes up alongside soon.
Blocked everything.
Yeah, he just really nonchalantly, just like, you know, it's as if he's still half asleep. You know what I mean? So, but you know, he'll come awake later on, and I think he's moving on to. Oh, I don't know if he's moving on, but there was talk, you know, the management not really kind of liking his attitude and things like that. So we'll have to kind of wait and see what happens with Caleb Ewan. But a Kermesse, especially the pro Kermesses, they're dotted all over Belgium, different, and they're normally about anywhere between maybe kind of 12 and 15 kilometres, and yeah, you know, it's just round and round and round for about, you know, 4 hours or less than 4 hours the speed they go at, you know, 3.5 hours, but it's normally about 100 miles, 160 k's. Top 30 get prizes. You already seen the you know, the vans and the betting and all this sort of stuff. I always remember the dried fish. Who would eat dried fish? You know what I mean? So, and then you get your burger vans and various other things, your free mayonnaise. And it's just like, come and, you know, a pro race is coming to you. The thing is, with a kermesse race, you look at the paper and decide what you want to do in the morning. Normally you don't, unless you're Belgian and you know they're coming up and, you know, have a programme and know where you are. But normally you'd get up, because it'd be pretty much almost every day. You get up, get the paper, right, there's kermesse there, right to it. Go into this kind of smoky back room of a cafe, show your licence, sign on, get a frame number and one back number, and that would be it. And then you'd go. So you didn't know how many people you'd be competing against. You'd turn up at the line maybe 5 minutes before, and there could be 60 people, there could be 200 people. So that's kermesse racing for you, and I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, a friend of mine from America called Liam Flanagan, he has flown over for a month looking for a team as well. Just finished his education cum laude, and now does a month of these kermesse races in Belgium. Just staying with a friend there, brought his bike over, goes to like exactly what you say, these dodgy cafes, and sign up and race in the afternoon, and hopefully go away with a little bit of prize money to make your trip all the way from the US worthwhile, and hopefully, in the case of Liam, get noticed and maybe get a team for next year, because they say, Brian, there's no better way in the world to learn the trade of racing than doing Belgian kermesses.
Well, some of the hardest races I've ridden. You know, in the past when I rode, you had a lot of kermesse teams. That's all they rode pretty much. Okay, they get in some of the classics, but they rode all these kermesses. There was a bit of a mafia as well, but some of these kermesse teams in my day, when we had a team of maybe 18, they had a team of with 28. I remember La William and various other teams, and it was just, you get turned up and the whole team would be in the front, and you know, it'd be so hard, so fast, and 100 miles you're doing 3.5 hours, and there's no place to get out the saddle and kind of rest. It's full on racing the whole time. And of course, just before the World Championships, everybody used to come here to train for the Worlds and get some racing in. So they would ride to the race, ride the kermesse and ride back. So, you know, sometimes it could be, you know, well over a kind of 250 kilometre day, and that's what they did. But I remember turning up for a block of racing before the World Championships. There's 300 riders on the start line.
I know.
And it was just savage. Everybody was there prepared. Of course, this is an unofficial championship and, you know, UCI event, but most of the other races are, you know, you just turn up and race, and you don't know who you're racing against. But a lot of the kind of top riders use it for training more than, you know, trying to get a result.
Well, just a minute left as we cross the finish line again. Did you fall off your chair, Brian, there? Or are you okay?
Yeah, I was moving
was
something.
Was that a crash?
Never. Yeah, I had a shoot in the... that's a shoot in the commentary box.
Well, we'll see if we'll get neutral servers over to you, since the gap is just a minute. Yeah, these four riders, very experienced. Samuel Leroux, the man in fourth position. This is his sixth time racing here in Koolskamp. Thibaut Verhofstadt has done it 4 times, the man leading in the yellow and black. Gijs van Hoeken on his wheel in human-powered health collars, his 4th time. And only a youngster from Switzerland, Fabio Christen, is a newbie. He's, of course, the older brother of Jan Christen and the son of Joseph Christen, also a good bike racer in his time, but especially Jan Christen, of course, a very promising young rider. Well, not a lot of stress in the peloton. They keep this at, well, a minute, which is, of course, easy to do. Maybe we can go over the start list. We already saw in that pre-show clip, Brian, some of the big names that we have. But maybe we can go over each and every one of the teams and just pinpoint the fast riders here, because apart from Lier and Caden Groves, is probably going to get his 3rd Vuelta stage win today. It's 2:30 today, so this is not a spoiler. The race is not done. A lot of the fastest sprinters in the world are actually here.
Yeah, I think the biggest name in the whole race is Van St. Martinstijk. That's the biggest
That was
name
really
for
good.
me. Yeah,
Really good.
yeah. I've not seen a kind of name like that. You Dutch have kind of very long names, and yeah, that's a lot. That's the biggest name in the race. But talking about biggest talent, yeah, Jakobsen coming back to win again. He won it the last time. I think Philipsen. There's always a question of what he's a little move here coming from Beat Cycling, but yeah, just coming on here to Jasper Philipsen. Had a win in the Renew Tour, looked good there. Gerben Thijssen, as you already mentioned, Intermarché. Caleb Ewan here for Lotto. Jaco, I've got Groenewegen, Kokar, Cofidis, possibly maybe Sarro for AG2R, Bohani. Be interesting to see David Decker. When he burst onto the scene, Jose, I was really excited about David Decker. I think it was the Tour of Dubai at the time and things like that. I finished second to Matthew van der Poel, and I thought, oh, here we go, another good Dutch sprinter, but he hasn't really kind of broken through. Moved over to Arkea Samsic, and he hasn't done too much. You've already mentioned Van Uden for DSM, Malacelli of Bingo, Nizzolo of Israel, Moschetti of Q36.5. So, but you know, there's others, Blickera as well for you know, Uno X. There's a lot of sprinters here, but you know, it's when the kind of smaller teams like this here try to get involved in the racing, and you know, it's good to see.
Yeah, of course, I forgot one of the biggest names of the moment in Olaf Koy, but we don't have Jumbo-Visma on the start line here. So he's not racing here. What did you, well, you were, of course, part of the Tour of Britain coverage as the peloton with 58k to go has decided to just close the gap instantly, although Ops in the Koenig is trying to relax this a little bit, this little attack that we just had. Olaf Koy, of course, he was absolutely dominant in the first 4 stages of the Tour. 4, 5, 4. Is he the fastest man now in the peloton? What's your take on that?
I would say no. Potentially in the future, yes. I think the fastest man is Philipsen. So that's my take on things. You know, he was up against a couple of decent riders. He's up against the likes of Sam Bennett and Danny Van Poppel. Sam Bennett just didn't have the form. He was up against his own teammate that who finished first and second, Wout van Aert. But I really do think that there were some decent sprinters, but there wasn't the class that we've got here. You know, when you rhyme off, when you get the start list, then you look at Lotto Distance and you saw Delay. And I know one of the start sheets I got, it said Arno, and I was like, what? They've got Caleb Ewan and Arno Delay riding at the same time, and it was actually Axel. It's in there, but yeah, the field here is a little bit better, a little higher standards of riders here. But yeah, of course, Olaf Koy going to be, you know, one of the big sprinters for Dutch cycling in the next few years for sure.
I read this discussion on Twitter that. For quite some time, us Dutch people had a whole generation of fantastic climbers, starting with Geesink, Kelderman, Kruiswijk, Dumoulin, etc. And now we have an amazing generation of sprinters. It's really weird because in Belgium, it's now a little bit the other way around. They have the fantastic climbers and they have less sprinters, although they have, of course, Philips and Emilian. But it's really funny how that goes in waves.
Yeah, I often think that as well. There's also the point is, you know, how does Denmark produce someone as good as Jonas Vingegaard when it's absolutely flat there?
I have explained that before. Since I ride with a power meter, I have noticed that if we have wind like 4, something like that, in a headwind, I do the same kind of percentages in terms of watts as I do on a 4, 5, 6% climb. That's how you get the power, I think. And then in my case, it would be lovely to lose 30 kilos and get a little bit faster uphill. But I think a lot of it is actually down to the wind.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and yeah, I would say that, and I've said it in commentary before. I've been here when it's been windy. I've raced in Denmark when it's windy, it is, but when it's on a good day and not that windy, it's difficult.
Windy.
Because when I started training to certain, this was before power meters. I started to train to heart rate levels and different levels. I would go out and do kind of 3 hours at kind of level 2 or 3, and these different heart rate levels. I always found it hard to keep my heart rate level up at where it needed to be. I had to change down and actually pedal down hills and pedal a lot quicker to keep my heart rate up. So yeah, in the wind, of course, you can go into a blockhead wind and it's like climbing a mountain. I can totally understand that, but yeah, it doesn't really matter where you come from. We in the past we always say, the riders from Colombia that started coming over to ride the Tour de France were just kind of gifted climbers because they stayed up up in the mountains and altitude and things like that. But that's not the case. It doesn't matter where you come, you can still do everything. But to answer your question, I really don't know how people go through, or how riders go through these different, how countries produce different types of riders. I think it's just per chance, or I really don't know that one.
For when we still had the Rabobank team, they always had the infamous Ardennes test days, where they would get the young riders, the most talented riders from the Netherlands of 17, 18, 19 years old. They would send them to the Ardennes, one of these climbs there, and that was the selection criterion to get onto the Rabobank team. If you were good in the Ardennes test days, and basically Belgian cycling now has the same thing also in the Ardennes. They have the test days to find new climbers. And in the Netherlands, we don't do them anymore since Rabobank is now
I'll trump you, Jose. When I was a junior and things like that, the King Cycle test came out, and the King Cycle was the test on that turbo trainer indoors. Horrible. And I think even Mark Cavendish went through the net because he couldn't. Some people can ride indoors, some people can't, and it's just that it's more in your head than anything else. And there was teams, British teams and things like that selected on King Cycle tests.
Yeah, really cool. And somebody like Dumoulin, he or Nick Terpstra for that matter, just fell through the cracks of the Rabobank Ardennes test days, but did make their way up to the highest echelons of cycling anyway. We have a very active Beat Cycling Club at the moment. Of course, they have former track sprint world champion Matthijs Bugli, Giel Dijkeren, which is one of the most difficult names to pronounce if you're not from Belgium or the Netherlands, Stijn Dame, Guillaume Visser, Vincent Hoppesak, of course also a man from the track, and a local man, Emiel Vermeulen. He is from West Flanders, and that might be the reason that they really want to animate this race. They just had that little two-pronged attack, and now again they are trying to get closer to the breakaway. And I saw, Brian, that especially Albacete de Koning and Soudal Quickstep want nothing of this. They try to slow this move down. It's like, come on, we don't need this kind of thing. We have plenty of time.
Do you know what? I think they've also watched the Tour of Britain where St. Piran were attacking, and even the Unibet team were attacking in twos rather than attacking just on your own, because when you're a kind of smaller team, it's always very difficult. But yeah, Beat Cycling, it's been around the last. It's a different kind of team setup, and things like that. They haven't got a lot of funding. But is Theo Bosch still involved with that Beat Cycling?
No, Theo is head of the Chinese team sprint.
Oh, wow. Got a lot of time for Theo Bosch.
He's a great guy, absolutely great guy. Well, we have Jaco Lula here with youngster Hamish Mackenzie doing some work there. You can see the brake levers all the way turned in, Brian. Why is this a trend nowadays? The man from Jaco Lula, his two hands can almost touch. Why do we see that so much right now?
It's compensating for puppy paws. This is in aerodynamics. This is simple as that. So you turn them in. But it's something that, you know, the teams will always look at. Everybody's looking at aerodynamics, and they have been doing this for the last kind of 15, 20 years. And by turning them in, it means you, at certain points, you can rest your which you aren't allowed to do, and keep your hands on the levers. It's simple as that. I'm pretty sure that if the UCI looked at this closely, there's going to come a rule that you can only have your levers turned in at a certain angle, and you'll get protractors and things like that being given to some of these UCI commissaires to look at it, not only for sock length but, you know, lever degrees. So yeah, it isn't. It's just purely for. And I think there's a bit of emphasis on Pogacar at the start of the year. He started using something a little bit sort of narrower bars. If you measure between your shoulder blades, I think I'm 40, which would give me a kind of 40 bars, because it's easier to keep your arms kind of straight. But what they do is they put their hands in and then you just kind of turn the levers in. It's more for aerodynamics than anything else.
A winner of the Grand Prix de Wallonie has abandoned the race, as did Rick Sabel. We had Adam de Vos also mentioned as an abandon and taken over at the front of the bunch. Again, our Alpecin de Koning, they're here with Philipsen, with Ricard, Mareczko, Bastiaans currently leading the peloton there. Timo Kielig, Ramon Sinkeldam and Lionel Tamillo. Kinkeldam, yeah.
That's a nice name.
Kinkeldam. Yeah, so that is their A sprint squad, actually. And these four riders, yeah, especially Gijs van Hoek, he's 31. He is from the region, and he's on the lookout for a new contract, because the news coming from the human-powered health camp is not all that reassuring. They have been informed that it's looking pretty dire to find sponsorship for next year. So these riders, they have to actively showcase themselves now.
Yeah, you have to. And talking about showcasing yourselves, I'm involved with a young development team in Scotland called the Cycling Academy, and they're actually over here. They're actually on the side of the road, parked up, watching the race. And it's something that, you know, we get to see in the Tour of Britain, but in Scotland, because the Tour of Britain didn't go to Scotland, you don't get to see top riders. So they're parked up, I think it's in Pittem, which is about 5 kilometres to go to the finish. So if you see them on the side of the road, they're there to ride Kaiser de Juniors. Yep. Over the next couple of days. It's a 2.1 race, and so Finn Mason, and in fact Finn Mason, I have to say this, he's beaten me. I finished second in the British Junior Road Race Championships many moons ago, and there hasn't been a Scot won the British Junior title, and Finn Mason became the first rider. So well done, Finn. So he's over there riding in Belgium over the next couple of days. He's got Milo McIntosh, Ollie Walker, Niall Colquick, Ben Marsh and Ivan Sorby. So 6-man team over there with some of the best. As you know, Jose, that's a hard race and a big junior race. So they're there with the world's best juniors. And that's what you're saying. You're talking about testing yourself, putting yourself in the short window. So yeah, I'm kind of proud that my small involvement and, you know, that team, the Cycling Academy in Scotland, is going from strength to strength, and hopefully it will do over the next kind of year or two. But yeah, it started just about 2 or 3 years ago, and you know, these boys are over here hopefully enjoying some nice sun, because I was looking at a weather forecast. We in London here, we're getting about 27, 28 degrees at the weekend. In Scotland, it's 10 degrees less.
10?
Yeah, it's 10. It's about 16 degrees up north.
And kills the midges.
Of course it does. But yeah, there seems to be a big separation. There's only, 400 miles between, well, I was going to say 500 miles, but I can't sing. So there's about 400 miles between London and Glasgow, or 450 miles. But big change in weather.
We are currently watching Shetland from basically season 1 with the fantastic Douglas Henschel. So yeah, we're big on Scotland. I do want to go to Shetland. It's an awful long way from home, and there's no trees, but it looks absolutely amazing. We're now I've seen season 5, 6, and 7, but we started all the way from the back when everybody was still quite young.
Well, Douglas Henshaw is actually he's doing
From
something
Glasgow.
with Netflix now. No, he's from locally it's called Barhead, which is Barhead, which is only about 2 or 3 miles where I was brought up. But he has an interest in cycling.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a very handsome man. I absolutely love his accent, and Shetland is a big tip if you don't know the series. It's stunning. It's on the Shetland Islands. Beautiful scenery. It's quite slow,
Do
but
you know what happens in the end?
It's really nice. He goes away after season 7, and somebody else comes in. This broke my heart. But yeah, maybe he's equally nice. I don't know. I don't know who they're going to bring in for season 8, but I got a few seasons to catch up on. You were talking about the Keizer de Juniores, the race. I'll give you some of the names who were on the podium in recent years. The race is tomorrow, by the way. Noah Hobbs, he was a 3rd last year. Steven de Schuitenier, one of the most promising juniors at the moment in Belgium. But also in 2019, we had a podium with Quinn Simmons, Magnus Sheffield and Sam Watson. Of course, all moved on to the World Tour. Other riders on the podium, Andreas Kroon has won it, Nathan van Hooijdonk, Florian Sénéchal, Bob Jungels, Peter Kenyuk, to name but a few. Luckily, we can report that Nathan van Hooijdonk is okay. Of course, a big scare. He had a heart attack, cardiac arrest while driving his car, caused a big accident, was resuscitated on site, but luckily he is okay. Also, we heard the exact same thing for the Dutchman of Cofidis, Wesley Kreder, who in bed got a cardiac arrest, was also resuscitated. He's also okay. He needs to recover, of course, the Dutchman, but we do wish them both well in their recovery. Big scare for both of these riders. But yeah, it's the Keizer de Junior. Ethan Hayter's been on the podium as well. Brent van Moer, to just name, and Caleb Ewan back in 2012. So it is a big race for these young kids, and it's great to. And I hope these Scottish lads have a good day out there tomorrow, and that they learn a lot. Here we have Lasse Norman Letts, completely unfazed. Time to catch up on fluids there.
Lasse Norman Leth Hansen.
Yep. It was a little bit confusing during the World Championships while I was watching, not our GCN coverage with Carlton, but another coverage. And the commentator seemed to be completely unaware that this was Lasse Norman Hansen. But in Denmark, of course, just like in the Netherlands, for example, but in Denmark, you can also take the name of your wife, so a composed name, Norman Let. Valgren Hundal, for example, is the same thing for Michael Valgren. So that's why the name has changed, making life a little bit more complicated for cycling commentators. 45 kilometres left to go. We've got our lap of 15 kilometres with, all in all, 5 turns. Well, 6 if you include this little passage through Koolskamp. And there's somebody there with one of these horns that you have.
Multiple horns.
Yeah. It's really funny, but also incredibly annoying. But this is exactly what kermesse racing is. It's basically what we say in Dutch, rondje rond de kerk, a tour around the church.
Church, yeah.
And these fall kermesses or fall fairs, they usually coincided with the harvest times. So when the harvest was brought in from the land, there was a big fiesta, a big kermis in the villages where the farmers brought the harvest to the markets. They had a good pint of beer or 2, or quite possibly quite a few more. And now you've got fun fair rides and everything, and just like you said, snacks and dried fish for one reason or the other. I remember my first time going to Nokere Koersen, being on the Nokere Berg, and there was this stand about 100 meters from the finish line, just next to the guy who was there with the betting board. Yeah. And I was like, who is going to snack on a dried piece of fish here, standing at the finish line watching Nokere Koersen.
Yeah, it's one of these things, you know, when you finish a race, the first thing you want is a bit of dried fish to chew on.
Or maybe there's some good recovery coming from it. Now we have, of course...
somebody must buy it.
Yeah, otherwise they wouldn't be there. There's a market for it. But it seems like our man from France is in a little bit of trouble now. He's on a huge gear. Looks like he might have some trouble there with his gearing because he can't follow the other three anymore. I think he's got a mechanical issue there with the shifting.
I think it's more physical than anything.
Well, that was a complete blow-up.
Yeah, it's one of these things you don't know. It hits you just like that, and especially in a flat race, you think... Because in other races, you look at the route and you might kind of hold a little bit back, but when you're out there kind of doing team time trial, and if you're not on a good day, your legs can just go bang, and everybody thinks flat races are easy, but some of the hardest races I've ridden have been flat, and as you say, for the right reasons. If the wind's blowing like it does in this part of the world a lot, they can be really hard.
Still at the front of the bunch is Eiko Bastiaans. He's got an interesting history. Started on the Alpecin Fenix development team. He's still part of the development team actually, but he's been doing a lot of races with the World Tour team. You can, unless it's World Tour, you can like interchange your riders. For example, also in the women's racing, Sylvia Persico was riding with the UAE development team in Wallonie on Wednesday. But he signed a 2-year contract with Quickstep, Soudal Quickstep next year. So a nice reward there for Eiko Bastiaans coming into the sport, through development teams and gradually building on his palmarès. He's a very trusty domestique.
You're talking about Persico?
No, by Bastiaans, who was just leading. But I was just illustrating it that you can change your riders from the World Tour to the Continental team and the other way around, unless it's a World Tour race.
Yeah, I really like that idea. That's one of the good ideas that they've got. You can go at any time. Normally you used to take stagiaires on, and the stagiaires were only allowed kind of from August onwards, and they couldn't ride high-level races. But this is actually part of kind of Lotto-sponsored Belgian Cup. I think it's the 10th event. I think there's not that many to come now, is there?
It is the last one.
It's the last one.
This is the 9th. We started all the way back on the 28th of February with the Grand Prix Samijn. That was won by Milan Menten ahead of Hofstetter and Edvard Teuns. A week later we had the Grand Prix Montserrat with that photo finish between Gerben Thijssen and Caleb Ewan. Circuit de Wallonie, that was in May, was won by Jordi Meijers. Remember that one, Brian, where we stopped for 45 minutes because the road was blocked? Then it was Veenendaal on the 20th of May, where Dylan Groenewegen got his 4th win. The day after, the 21st of May, the Antwerp Port Epic with a clean sweep for the Alpecin de Koning team with de Bond, Kilich and Quinten Hermans. We had the Merkestein Fences Classic, formerly known as the Grand Prix Marcel Kind. That was won by Caleb Ewan ahead of Tim Merlier and Thijssen. Then on the 10th of June, dwars door het Hageland, won by Rasmus Tiller. On the 11th, the day after, another sprint festival in the streets of Bruges, in the Elfstede Ronde with Philipsen. And then 15th of August, it was the Ronde van Leuven, and that was won by Arnaud Delis. So it is indeed the 10th and last one. The score at the moment in the classification, Ewan leads with 44 points, and Gerben Thijssen is in 2nd place with 40. The winner gets 16, then 14, 13, 12, etc., all the way to 0. So the overall win in the Lotto Cycling Cup is still open. I would think that Lotto Destiny, of course, share the same sponsor, would like Caleb Ewan to pick up the overall win. But yeah, the question is, how good is Ewan after being away from racing for such a long time, and of course all the mental stress that comes with the situation that he finds himself in? Yeah,
not good at all. Not good at all from the team. more so than possibly him. You don't air the kind of dirty laundry like that. So I don't think as a general manager. But look at, he's here. He's got a chance. He's very capable of winning this. You know, a sprinter is a sprinter, but he is up against some really top riders that have been winning recently as well. So I hope he does, because he needs. Okay, he said the birth of his third child, but he needs a little bit of run of the smooth. He's not at the best. He's sitting down the back as well, which doesn't always look good. And we saw him when he had that mechanical. I hope, but at the end of the day, it's a Belgian Cup race, but I know some of the smaller teams kind of look at points and where they are, but most of the top riders don't. I don't think go for it. They don't come in here thinking.
No, it's more accidental win.
Yeah, we're going to ride this strategically so that so and so doesn't get points, and I win and things like that. And I think the Belgian in the past they used to have sprints in races which had points as well, but I don't think Caleb Ewan started the season thinking that I'm going to win the Belgian Cup. Which is a shame, because it should be something that, these kind of Belgian teams and things like that should look at.
Yeah, and also in the rule book, I couldn't find the premium that comes with it. I know that a couple of years ago there was quite a hefty price purse coming with the Lotto Cycling Cup, but there was nothing on the website or in the race manual about how much money was actually involved in winning the classification over these 10 races of the Lotto Cycling Cup. Yeah, Caleb Ewan, he finds himself all the way at the back. Here we have him. And also the body language coming from that mechanical. I like Caleb Ewan. I don't want to say anything negative about it, but it must be hard on this man who was on the top of the sprinting world, won multiple Tour de France stages, and then read in the media that the manager, who's of course a new man, Stéphane Hulot, a Frenchman, say that about you. And Caleb Ewan has been really polite and never struck back in the media. Jason Buckett, his manager, said something about it, but he still has a contract for 2024. Of course, if both parties agree to rip that contract, he's a free agent. But Caleb Ewan is also not a cheap rider in terms of salary because of his palmares, and not a lot of teams will have room in the budget to sign Caleb Ewan for next year.
Unless you sort the damage very quickly, it's very difficult to come back from that. If you don't get on with your general manager, which is clear, or in the comments that the general manager has made, unless both of you sit in a room and deal with it, then I don't think there's any way back, especially mentally. It's been a good team for Caleb Ewan, and like you say, since he crashed in the Tour de France with Pura Sagan a couple of years ago, he hasn't really kind of hit the top flight, and he's very capable of doing that. Does he need a new change? Well,
I think so.
Mentally, he does, but when you think it, the duo, Jesper de Vust and him, Jesper was brilliant for him, and that kind of duo really kind of worked. But I think when you've got a general manager saying these things, then I think Caleb has to look. But like you say, he's not a cheap rider, and where would he go? And I say this to a lot of people: the grass is not always greener. Just because you've got a big shiny bus, you don't know what's happening on the inside. And that's 100% the truth. You might look good from the outside, but internally, there's kind of different pressures and things like that within teams and things like that. So, a jump of the team, like you say, might be good for him, and I think he will do that, but it's making sure you get the right team, because some people jump teams and they don't perform the way they were performing before, and a lot of that's down to maybe not enjoying themselves. In any type of sport, you have to enjoy it to get motivated to do it to your best.
Yep, most definitely. And of course, the team also sacked Alan Davies the manager or the sports director that Caleb Ewan really had a good relationship with. Dave is apparently sending some lewd images via social media to people, and was sacked from the team. Team calls it a private matter, but fact is that Davis is no longer connected to the team. I was also surprised to see Cherry Pridham leaving, and they bring in Tony Galopin as a sports director next year.
Yeah, I think the job role of a sports director has changed a lot now. Before you used to have just kind of ex-bike riders, and there used to be maybe 4, 5, 6 in a team, but now they're, double digits. Now there's a lot of sports directors within teams. Tony Galopin over the years has been a very good rider. Just because you've been a decent enough rider and you go straight into a sports director's car will not make you a top sports director. You got to remember that a lot of sports people tend to be, a little bit selfish, and you have to be. You have to have that in your locker. You have to think of number one, and now you go as a sports director, you have to learn as to be, do what's best for the team, and have that strength to, and that delivery to get the respect from the team. And when you bark the orders of this, what's going to happen, they listen to you. We've seen recent happenings in different races that, in the end, although you've been told maybe in the meeting, but in the end, if you've got no radio communications and you can't see TV and things like that, riders have to think for themselves. And we've seen that in recent times where, mistakes have been made. So it's a hard enough job being a sports director. It's not easy at all. And I've always said you need someone to look after the sports directors, because the sports directors look after the riders, but the sports directors are human as well. And if they make mistakes, which sometimes you're frightened to make, but if you make mistakes, who do you talk to? Who can you work with and things like that? Pardon?
Ghostbusters. Who are you going to call?
Yes. Who are you going to call? It's not as if you can go to your general manager, or because he's dealing with a lot of all different things. But I really do think that, and I think there are teams. I think maybe Roger Hammond kind of looks after, or he did do it with another team. Kind of look after the sports directors and the kind of performance side. Kind of heads up that area. But yeah, sometimes you need to bounce off ideas, and sometimes I'll get a phone from 1 or 2 sports directors before a race. And, asking me, right, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? You just have to kind of bounce off someone sometimes.
Yeah, that goes, of course, with every job in the world, basically. I find it so remarkable that we have 5 riders of Lotto Destiny grouped together at the front, and what is supposed to be their main sprinter all the way at the back. It just... Of course, we've seen in recent days that optics do matter in the entire Jumbo-Visma leadership saga, where the higher management really got involved in the sports director's decisions on Monday. It was said, we are going to battle it out on the road. Well, optically, you have also tweeted about it. That didn't look too great. And then the higher management stepped in. And having Caleb Ewan there dangling at the back while the entire team is basically at the front, grouped together, that is just not a great image, in my opinion.
No, it's not. And there was a rider from, he was riding for Omega Pharma, a British rider in the past, and he phoned me up and just for a bit of advice, and he told me he felt a little bit, whenever he knew that he was going to a certain race, because of what happened in the past at one race, every race he went to with this particular sports director, he just didn't feel motivated, and it's really, really hard. So any races he went, and you've got, and he got the information, and he had this sports director, and it's the same when you go to a race. You say you go to a stadium or go to anywhere where you've lost heavily. The next time you go, and I have it with my boys' sports team, every time they go to a certain place, just because they get beat 8-0 or 7-0 or 9-0 in the past, mentally think when they turn up at the same place, they think, oh, you know, here we go again. And, you know, I just said, look, in my opinion, just arrange a meeting and sit down with them one-to-one and just kind of thrash out, you know, just be honest with each other. Just say, you know, I felt this when you said this and gave me a hard time about that. This is how I felt. And he phoned me up about a few weeks later and says, I'm fine with him now. You know, and you just have to get these kind of skeletons out the cupboard sometimes, and, you know that when you go to races that you're motivated to be here. Caleb Eunice, does he look motivated to be here? No. Does he get a chance of doing well in this race? Yes. So how do you sort that out?
It's a tough one to crack. We still have got 3 leaders. Of course, we left Samuel Leroux behind, but we have Fabio Christen, the 21-year-old for Q36.5. Gijs van Hoeken, a man from West Flanders, at 31 of Human Powered Health, and Thibaut Verhofstadt of the Tartoletto Isorex team. There he is. He is at 25. 2 Belgians and 1 man from Switzerland defending a 34-second gap. To get through the Palmares of recent years, last year we had a podium with Fabio Jacobsen, Caleb Ewan and Dylan Groenewegen. It could happen again, they're all here. In 2021, Jasper Philipsen won ahead of Groenewegen and Martin Laas. 2020, of course, we didn't have a race. And then previous winners include Yannick Steimle. That was a solo, by the way. So it was not a bunch sprint, but a solo. Steimle, who is going to Q36.5 next year. 2018, Dylan Groenewegen. 2017, Gaviria, who's sadly out with a broken collarbone. 2016, Dupont. 2015, Govash. 2014, Demar, and other previous winners include De Bussere, Marcel Kittel, André Greipel, Baden Cook, to name but a few. And the absolute record holder is the lovely Nico Eekhout. I think he won it 4 times. And the very first one was in 1908. That was the first edition. That is a long time ago.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was a hard one. They've all been hard. In fact, it was so it was nice weather for that one as well.
Ryan, I know you're a little bit older than me, but you're not that old. Come on. Got some action here at the front of the bunch. The entire Lidl Trek team. Just 5 riders out of the 7 that you can line up for this race, including their 3 stagiaires. And this is our Flamme Rouge arch, which is made up of bicycle parts.
I saw a picture of it before we came on our air, and I thought that looks rather lovely.
It's not inflatable, so it can't deflate.
No, and they're a thing of the past now. They're trying to stop them.
Two more laps to go as we cross the finish line. The peloton is hot on their heels. Gijs van Hoeken, Thibaut Verhofstadt, Fabio Christen. Last year we also had a pretty small first group of 5 riders, and yeah, the scenario was exactly the same as we expect it to be today. I find the finish a little bit interesting because, well, you see the finish line, there's a nice little twist in it instead of having a straight line.
Yeah, they could have had it a little bit kind of further up, and you know, they would have possibly had a little bit kind of straighter, kind of 200 metres or a little bit more. You know, we've had sprint stages, races here a lot, and from my memory, we haven't had too many mishaps and crashes and things like that. So, but the thing about it, Jose, is you go around here 11 times, so you know what you're getting.
Yeah, 0 surprises, and luckily this lovely turn is not part of the final. If we look on the map where we actually find Koolskamp, you just mentioned slightly north of Ardooien, that will not be all too familiar to people, but yeah, we're about 40 kilometers west of Ghent, and about 30 kilometers south of Bruges, in the province of West Flanders, which is cycling crazy, I should say.
Do you know, I could probably make this from where I am in about 2.5 hours.
I know. You're faster there than I am.
Yeah.
Honestly, I have to go on the on the road around Antwerp, which is a disaster on Friday afternoon, or any afternoon.
Yeah, no, I was, you know, even Paris-Roubaix, after Paris-Roubaix, one of the times my son was with me, I was there with the team, and I was home for 9 o'clock that night.
Yeah, that's a lot faster.
School the next day, but it's so close, but yet so far. That's what I couldn't understand when I first came down here. Why are we not getting more Brits going over to race over in kind of North France and Belgium, because it's so close?
Because it's Brexit.
Yeah, that's another case. Yeah, of course.
Making it really hard to travel back and forth. Well, the pace is really up. We see Intermarché Wanty there. Of course, they are supporting Gerben Thijssen. Thijssen, who's doing well at the moment. Of course, the last big sprint race we had was last Sunday. It's called the Grand Prix de Fourmi, La Foi du Nord. That was a pretty good sprint where Tim Merlier just beat Gerben Thijssen on the line. We also have Matteo Moschetti there, who is finally getting back to form after a little bit of a harder time for him. So that was the podium in the north of France, in Fourmi, which is French for ants, actually. And we got the entire podium here as well. So Moschetti for Q36.5, Thijssen for Intermarché, and Tim Merlier, of course, he's racing in Slovakia.
I think there's a little bit more fight for this time. I think it's just hotting up every lap, isn't it? As Joe says, they go through the finishing line and they turn right. Then we get this kind of small road. This is what they're fighting for. Don't think anything will happen, but you never know. It's a case of, if you don't make the effort and you know the attack starts and it breaks up, then you're out of position, and then you're on the back foot. But yeah, 16 seconds now to the three in front. Caleb Ewan just still propping up the rear.
This man didn't just park his truck there by accident. They just planned that. They're just like we have in the Tour of Flanders sometimes. People just parking trucks knowing that they will be caught on camera, and that is exactly what happened there. It's free advertising for the owner of that transport company.
See, this is what you have to kind of block in the road. See Philipsen just kind of blocking the roads. Just allowing one more rider to come through. It's always a decent enough tactic in that. There's no point your team making up the road with one other rider. Another rider, three riders would be better. But yeah, it's kind of sparked off a little bit here.
DSM Firmenich with Casper van Uden, who was pretty close to actually winning a stage in Britain last week. So another up-and-coming sprinter from the Netherlands, Casper van Uden. Really narrow road here. But of course, this is the start of the lap. The roads will get wider all the way in the final 3Ks.
The thing is, you can do a bit of damage here. The wind coming slightly from the right-hand side. If you do get a good position as a team onto this road, it's a little bit easier to block the road. So when there's a split, then you've got a couple of minutes to get a good advantage, and then we come off this road onto a bigger road, then the other teams will be able to kind of move. But if you're a little bit too far back, then you're on the back foot. So very important, and you can see everybody, when we come up to the finishing line, they're starting to come up in numbers to get good position for this point.
Almost over now for our three leaders who have really fought tooth and nail. But you can see that the peloton is coming back. Why is there such a big truck there on this road? Of course, 15 kilometers is about 20 minutes per lap, so they would open the road in between to let people through, but You can't. They're probably not keeping it close for the entire 4 hours that the race is. Brian, what do you think?
No, there's certain times you see a truck just there when they come onto the main road. So as soon as they're past, there'll be a lead vehicle and there'll be a rear vehicle. So as soon as a rear vehicle, they'll possibly let the traffic flow a little bit. You just sent me a message, didn't you, about Lotto Destiny gathering around Caleb Ewan? Well,
that's what they tweeted. Just.
I'm not too sure of where the team are watching the race, but definitely not maybe in the television, or maybe they're in one of these cafes enjoying a couple of beers.
Yeah, because I don't see the team gathering around Caleb Ewan at all. It's an interesting tweet of a reality that is not really the actual reality. Tartaletto Isorex, they are racing, well, they were supposed to race 2 races this week, both here in Flanders and in Morocco. And despite the earthquake, the organizer in the Tour of Morocco said, yes, the race is going ahead, no problem, just fly over. And then all of the teams did fly over to Morocco the day before the race was actually going to take place, that it was cancelled after all. Of course, due to the fact that there's now over 3,000 casualties in that terrible earthquake near Marrakesh. And the teams are basically stuck in Morocco at the moment because the start town of the race is different than the finish town. The finish town was Casablanca. So their return tickets are absolutely worthless, and the team of Tartaletto Isorex is also still stuck in Morocco.
Oh, that's a shame.
And also, Global Peloton reported on Twitter that the rental cars are being taken back by the organisers as well, leaving the teams in a little bit of limbo there in Morocco, where, of course, they have a lot of other things on their mind. So really weird that the teams did fly over to Morocco, and then in the end, the day before, they did the right thing and cancelled the race because there was an earthquake.
Well, we're doing a Caleb Ewan spot today in this race, and he's off the back, I have to add. So breaking news, he just moved up on the left-hand side there, the right-hand side, looking for us, and you can just see him just behind Jack Bauer for Q36.5 and the kind of silver kits. So he has moved up towards the front. It's one of these situations where you can play around, just sit at the back all day. There's people that can do this in every race. I was quite fortunate. I could read a race and I can understand. Sometimes I make mistakes, but more so, you can see that you've got that feel. Some riders don't have that, and they just ride at the front of the whole time. So it's one of these things. It's sometimes difficult to learn, but you can. But Caleb Ewan has decided that all day just keep out of trouble, sit at the back. But now, inside the last 25 kilometres, he did move up in that main road, and now he's up towards the front of the top 20.
So now he's making the tweet a reality. The tweet was just 3 minutes
Well, I was just about to say that. So maybe they saw into the future, or what pictures we're seeing are maybe about
tweet.
5 minutes out of sync.
It was a scheduled tweet. Like, okay, we're going to tweet that you're at the front with your teammates. Move up. We got the Bolton Equities Black Spoke team at the front, of course, always very active in these kind of races. They're back on the road next year. They only have 10 riders confirmed for next year. With Rory Townsend moving up to moving on to Q36.5 because they're both pro teams. Maybe there's room for Caleb Ewan on the Bolton Equities Black Spoke team. Wouldn't mean that he'd get to do the Tour de France, but he might be more appreciated. And they speak the same language. Yeah,
if they've got the money and the funding to be able to do that, Bolton
most likely not.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I know that haven't got a huge budget. I know it's always going to be a kind of struggle for them. And if they've only got 10 confirmed for next year, and some riders kind of moving on, you have to kind of question the fact is that how what is going to happen with that team. It is very difficult, and there's with a limited budget you can only do so much, but you can't fault them for getting involved with the racing.
Well, they always race really aggressively, which is nice, and they have a kit that really stands out for us. We just have a result coming in from Slovakia, where Quick-Step are basically Jumbo-Visma in the entire race, because on day one we had Remy Cavagna doing Remy Cavagna things over an hour solo. Yesterday, Tim Malia won a sprint, and today it was up to Andrea Bajoli. So 3 on 3 now for the team of Suldal Quickstep in Slovakia, where one of their main sponsors is located. DSM Firmenich there on the left side of the road, right side if you're looking, watching television. John Degenkolb, Pavel Bittner, Patrick Eddy, Alex Edmondson, Niels Eekhoff, Tim Naberman and Casper van Uden is the team of DSM Firmenich. We also have Van Rijssel, Roubaix, Lille Métropole. They have a few faster guys there. They have Reit Arn, who is former national champion of Estonia, I think. Thomas Bouda, Thomas Denis, Leroux, but he abandoned. Mengeno, Kenny Molly and Norman Vatra. They're very active at the front, and they're also basically just 45 minutes away from their home base. It's almost a home race for them.
Very close indeed, but yeah, 20 kilometres to go, time to kind of really switch on, and we can see that with a lot of the teams not wanting to kind of miss a beat, and trying to get it in colour format, because there's a couple of narrow sections and you really want to have be at the front in numbers.
Jasper de Jager is the rider for Intermarché Circus Vanti. You have a team with a few of their development team riders like Alessio Delle Vedove, an Italian rider, and Jasper de Jager. Both of them pretty successful so far. Their development team, led by former pro Kevin van Melsen, is doing really well. They have a fantastic young man from Eritrea on the team in Arefaine. Absolutely a name to follow, in the footsteps, of course, of William Grimay. 9 seconds, the peloton is almost back to the leaders, who never really got a big gap. I think it's never been over 2 minutes for our 4 leaders. Originally with Samuel Leroux, but left now are Fabio Christen for Q36.5, Gijs van Hoeken for Human Powered Health, and Thibaut Verhofstadt for Tartoletto Isorex. And as you know, they are sponsored by Cakes. I hope they are not paid in cakes, because maintaining your weight as a pro cyclist might be an issue there. Koen van Meltvoort, who is the fast man on the Volker Wessels team, has been at the back of the peloton basically the entire race, and now apparently has got a mechanical already taking his Garmin or Wahoo or whatever brand of bike computer he has off, so anticipating a bike change there instead of just a new wheel. But with 19k to go, not ideal there for Koen van Meltvoort.
Some nice shiny shoes.
Very shiny.
Yeah, rider, I think, used to ride for Rabobank in the past.
Yep.
When he was younger.
Yeah, he's had a really long career, and especially in the races here in the Netherlands, he's won quite a few of them. But these are like 1.2 races, so the 4th tier of racing, 4th category. And he does top 10s in races like this, but in this field, I rather doubt it. And they're only here with 5 riders anyway of the Volker Wessels team. They are going to have a women's team next year, which is great. Another flat tyre here for Timo Kilich. Kilich, who had a breakthrough season with a win and some pretty good results, especially in the month of May. Former cyclocross rider Timo Kilich. And of course, that's an easy switch if you're already part of the Alps in the Koning, Christoph and Philip Roodhoofd family, to go from cyclocross to road, or back, or both. Or in the case of Puk Pieterse, mountain biking as well. peloton really swerving from one side of the road to the other. Looks like we have another problem here for Alpecin de Koning. Is it Timo Kielich again? That looks like the chain is back up. It is apparently one of their protected riders because there is an order in how you place bikes on the roof of the car, isn't there, Brian?
Yes, there is indeed. The outside, as we see, is a lot easier to get to, and that's where your protected riders are. The mechanic will know exactly where each bike is, and some of these bike racks, they'll carry complete bikes, but you know, some of them carry just the bikes without the front wheel. So if your bike's in the middle, you know the kind of pecking order of where you are in a team. So, and we see a lot of riders changing, but it's a big strategy whether you change a bike, whether you change a wheel. You know, maybe earlier in the race there is that strategy. So if you get to this point, then you know we'll change the wheel, and you see them using kind of hydraulics and things like that to do that, to getting the centre axle out and putting it back in. But yeah, every rider in the car in the race has a bike on top of the vehicle. Where it's placed determines where you are in the kind of hierarchy of the team.
AG2R really active there at the front of the peloton as well. They are here with the Nassen brothers, Stan de Wulf, and the French riders Pierre Cotera, Antoine Rogel, Marc Sarrault, their sprinter, and youngster, stagiaire actually, Jordan Labrosse. Very talented junior, by the way, Labrosse. Well, we have one more lap to go here. Our breakaway riders have been caught, and now it's absolutely full gas to the finish line as the town crier, or, well, he's not really calling out, is he? But it is the last,
I think
last
that's
lap.
the guy. I think that's the guy that rang the bell in the first edition as well. He was a boy then.
Oh, cryonically preserved. Yeah, yeah, lovely. Oh God, this is priceless, priceless. Doing the final countdown.
On the horns.
On holds, yeah. Well, our man who was in the breakaway here with 196, now all the way at the back of the peloton. Same goes for Martin Pedersen, of course, the brother of Mes Pedersen. A special moment for them came last month when they were racing the Tour of Denmark together, and Mes won a stage with his brother by his side. It meant a lot to both of them, is what Pedersen said in the post-race interview. The fastest schedule was around 10 to 4. I think we'll end up on that one. Maybe even a little bit faster than that, because the lap is around 20 minutes, is it?
Yeah, they're riding fast, and a little bit of anticipation here for Van Rysel, Roubaix here in the pink and the white. And we know that there was a bit of a race to get into that small road when it turned right. You can see the European champion Jacobsen is moved up a little bit, but it's in this section that they start to race for that right hand turn. We saw a little bit of action before, but I think with so many top sprinters here, I do believe that, you know, more teams are happy to bring it down to a sprint. Of course you've got your opportunist moves, and this is one, but you can get 50, 100 metres in front of a fast moving bunch quite quickly. But is holding it, you know, to hold and do this kind of time trial effort, his just legs are burning, and you know, you've got this washing machine effect behind, and you know, he's brought back quite quickly. So I think that'll be his last effort of the day. But this is an important bit here, that make sure you get good position into this kind of right-hand turn, because if it starts to race and it kind of splits up, as we said in the lap previously, it's quite easy to kind of block the road. And there he goes on the right-hand side, from front to back in about 5 seconds.
Yeah, Kenny Molly, he was in the breakaway in Grand Prix de Wallonie on Wednesday, and this was his last effort of the day. About Fabio Jacobs, he's not going to defend his title next Sunday, or, well, Sunday in 1 week, 24th. The Dutch team has Elmar Reinders, Daan Holen, Mike Teunissen, Olaf Kooi, Marijn van den Berg, Niels Eekhoff, Sjoerd Baks, and good old Bauke Mollema. It's, despite the fact it is in the Netherlands, a race which is quite punchy. Normally it was 44 minutes above sea level, and now it's over 60. They made the Van Berg even higher than it was.
That's right. It's in the Netherlands this year. I was just looking at his Lido Trek just came on here. I thought they were maybe trying to kind of set something up. As you know, that Stuyven is there, and looking at their team, they don't really have a kind of maybe a sprinter, top end sprinter. Of course, Stuyven is a very strong rider, but I'm talking about with the amount of talent we've got here, I think it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah,
that's why you have to push to the front.
Exactly. That is the most important reason. Two of the other Lidl Trek riders are here with Ebersold and Pedersen, and we have a crash there on the right side of the road. I think I did spot the mullet of Cyrus Monk there.
Well, that's nasty from the Soudal rider.
Yeah, this is Cyrus Monk. There's a lot of angry grunts here.
Jack
we
Bauer.
have Davide Persico. Also, 201 is Right Arm. That is indeed his name. Do not make fun of it. Somebody throws a bottle on the side, and maybe it bounces back on the road there. Because it seemed like it was bouncing back on the road there, Brian, that bottle. No,
yeah, it's kind of hard to see. Just a bit of a kind of bottleneck.
Yeah, they have 3 riders left now at the front with Tim Teutenberg, Jasper Stuyven and Daan Holen for Lidl Trek. Stuyven, of course, has done a really long solo before. Well, it was 16 kilometers, I think, in Kuurne. Keeping the peloton at about 10-12 seconds. It was absolutely nail-biting stuff there by Jasper Stuyven quite early on in his career. But the weather is just too relaxed. There's not enough wind. There's no rain. And when it comes to the pure speed against the likes of Jacobs and Groenewegen and Philipsen, it will be really hard for Jasper Stuyven.
Yeah, I thought they might have tried something with Stuyven here on this road, because they pushed to get good position. But when they fanned up, you know, because your teammates can just kind of block the road a little bit and kind of help. But, you know, these are some of the riders that were kind of stuck when that crash happened, stuck just behind it, managed to get round it and not get in it.
That's Hamish Mackenzie there with the flapping bib numbers. They're usually stickers nowadays, are they? That you just stick onto your skin suit. No more pins and needles necessary.
Yeah, it's an essential in your kit bag when you go to all these races, that you had pins.
Yep.
Safety pins.
Cedric Beulens is the rider for Lotto Destiny at the front, glancing over his shoulder to see where Caleb Ewan is. We also have Cofidis there at the front with Brian Coquard. Yep, he's nodding. Come over to our side here.
Yeah,
got
that was
5 riders
Walscheid.
there.
I'll tell you that, Walscheid, as we know, a good sprinter, but it looks as if they're setting this up for Coquard,
Yep.
the smaller of the sprinters, and having Walscheid as a leader in this sort of course would be terrific.
Yeah, most definitely. He's going to swap teams. Max Walscheid is going to Jaco Alula next year. So he's going to leave Cofidis and move on to Australian team Jaco Alula. Yeah, we lost a few riders. Hopefully for them, those were the riders who were not going to contest the sprint. When you find yourself all the way at the back of the bunch at 11 kilometres to go, that is just not the best place to be.
Well, Phillips is at the back there, number 11. He's taking it easy down the back. It's wall to wall or curbside to curbside the whole way at the moment. So there's no real stress. If you're down the back, it's a bit more relaxed. He's just on the right hand side, behind the kind of cough of the sled, and doing the right thing and using the bike track here. But yeah, sometimes you have to, keep the stress levels down. Know the moments where you can move up, and there's no point kind of burning teammates at the front here. You can see Caleb Ewan right in the middle there, being looked after by his team. So his team has gathered to the front to look after him. He's just having to kind of lean on a couple of riders to stay in his line of his train.
Yeah, this is really early to already do that. Oof, that curb there is not ideal. But yeah, already have your team at the front with 9 kilometres to go is slightly ambitious, in my opinion. But about Philipsen, we have seen, of course, in the Tour de France, they are the masters of timing sprints.
But the thing is, I know it's a long way, but it's less stressful. Everybody knows in these kind of circuit races, it's better to kind of burn a few teammates at the front and keep close to the fronts. Otherwise, you sit down the back and take the risk, as some teams do. But, 8.7 is too far to go. It's when you turn onto the main road and start heading back in towards the finish. That's the way where you want to be kind of hitting the front. So, but you don't want to be caught up in this kind of melee behind. You risk crashing, which we've already had. But there seems to be a lot of nerves in the peloton. You can just see with the movement, people are moving up to on the left-hand side. Nobody can move up on the right-hand side. Still, Jasper Philipsen just kind of sitting back there, so just keeping his nose out the wind.
A little bit of shoulder barging there between Jacobsen and Tom Sexton, I think it was, of the Bolton Equities team. And now we also have X getting to the front. They're here with Abrahamsen, Bendixen, Blikrap, who is their fast man, Guttenstadt, Let Levy and Leuland. Bottles flying everywhere. We haven't talked about Arkea Samsic yet. Of course, they have Nasser Bouhanni, but I think it's an understatement to say, Brian, that this has not been the year of Nasser Bouhanni.
No, but he's got a nice gold decoy helmet on, so it'll be easy to spot him. Normally, he does stealth black helmet, so
and now it's
yeah,
gold.
He's gone all bling today, possibly thinking that it might change his luck.
Chances.
He might get a good chance here.
They have another, they have some other fast riders on the team. Capiot, David Dekker, Mozzato, can also win bike races, as they've shown in the past. But yeah, it would be nice for Bouhanni to win. A late flyer there from Bingo Wallonie-Bruxelles. I would say this is Cyril Dessal. But we'll have to wait. We have seen before with the rider from Van Rijssel that, this was 10 meters at the front and then 25 meters behind the peloton in the span of 1 minute.
Yeah, that could be the case again. Just taking that opportunity. Possibly better just to kind of try and look after their sprinter, but they've got Malacelli. But if you don't believe Malacelli is maybe quick enough, then this is what teams will do. Just get that little bit of glory at the front. It doesn't last long, but some riders will do it.
X have Louis Bendix at the front. We spoke about pro chemisses. Something that's pretty popular this time of year in Belgium is also Derny racing. So you either have a chemis or a Derny race. And Louis Bendix did one a couple of days ago, where you race behind a Derny. That's it, and then hope to win a bike race.
Aren't the Dennys an advantage having an engine though?
They are the old-fashioned ones, yeah, not the electrical ones. Well, that was a short-lived attack there by Bingo Wallonie-Bruxelles. So we go back to our sprint trains. The three remaining riders of Lidl Trek nicely together. We haven't mentioned Movistar just yet. Of course, they had hoped to race here with Fernando Gaviria as one of the top sprinters in the world. But sadly, Gaviria is out with a broken collarbone. I think it's actually the second time this year that he broke the exact same collarbone. So it's the end of the season for the Colombian sprinter of Team Movistar. Johan Jacobs had a really good Grand Prix de Wallonie. He is the only Movistar rider moving to the front right now. And gradually, riders are trying to move up, taking the inside of the turn there. Hopefully everybody stays upright, but they're taking every risk there when we go through this town. The final 5 kilometers start right now. This is het kampioenschap van Vlaanderen, Koolskamp Koers, edition 108. One of the oldest bike races, and we have almost a collision there with a seagull who quickly decided to go the other way and not right inside the peloton, which is great. Remember, who was it, Bauke Mollema, having a seagull dump some shit on him earlier this year? No, we had a fight with the seagull, wasn't it, during the World Championships last year in Wollongong? That was it. But yeah, we're inside the final 5 kilometers. The race story is a pretty simple one. We had a breakaway of 4 riders with 2 riders from Belgium, Van Hoek and Verhofstadt, 1 from Switzerland, Fabio Christen, and 1 from France, Samuel Leroux. They never really got a big lead. It was 2 minutes at max as all the sprinter teams kept everything under tight control. And now we are preparing for a bunch sprint. In recent years, winners included Jacobsen, Philipsen and Groenewegen. All 3 of them are here. The podium last year was Jacobsen ahead of Ewan, Groenewegen. Mozzato was in 4th, and Timothy Dupont, who is not racing since he was supposed to race in Morocco, in 5th place. So that is what we can expect, a big old bunch sprint, and hopefully everybody stays upright, because bunch sprints are always a little bit scary to watch.
Yeah, especially when you got a lot of riders capable of winning this. It's not a case of we've got 1 or 2 riders that are favourites. We've got probably 5 or 6 that are favourites, and that's the difficulty you've got. You see Jaco Alula just been moving up in the left-hand side in the blue shorts. But yeah, it's setting. It's going to be a fast finish. It said earlier, this is a little bit of a kind of cross tailwind in towards the finish, which makes it very, very fast.
Yeah, the TV director is showing us Yannick Steimler. He is a former winner of this race back in 2019 with a late attack, making it all the way to the finish line. That was quite courageous. But let me give you the stats of Groenewegen in recent years. 2017, he was 2nd. 2018, he won. 2019, he was 3rd. 2021, he was 2nd. And 2022, he was 3rd again. So on the podium for 5 of the 6 most recent editions of this race was Dylan Groenewegen. Here racing with Durbo, Mackenzie, Mesketch, O'Brien, Elmar Reinders and Campbell Stewart in that train of Jaco Alula. We also see some black there for DSM Firmenich, as the road is really, really narrow here in the little town of Aken, as we're making our way back to Koolskamp, which is the hub of this race. 165.1 kilometers in store today, as Quickstep have moved to the front there with Lampaert, Murkeu, Seneschal and Jacobsen. On the other side we have Cofidis. We also have Arkea Samsic with at least 4 riders there, and this is Dan Hole doing a really big turn at the front there, hopefully for Jasper Stuyven. This is how fast this... Oh, well, I just wondered how fast this was. Yeah, it's almost 60k an hour.
Yeah, this is... I said it was going to be a fast run, and, almost touching, 60 kilometres an hour running into towards this finish. It's a super fast finish here, and, yeah, it's going to get really dramatic.
Yeah, less than 2 kilometers to go. Adrien Petit has done his job there for Intermarché, but his sprinter, Gerben Thijssen, is way back. This is always a dangerous situation, of course, with lead-out man just trying to drop back while others are still at full speed. Here we have Israel Premier Tech. They have Giacomo Nizzolo as their sprinter. And now a turn from, it looks Callan O'Brien there for Jaco Alula. On the other side, we have Ramon Sinkeldam together with Rickaard and Jasper Philipsen for Alpecin de Koning. And then that lovely yellow arch of the final kilometer is coming up really, really fast now. There it is. It's absolutely stunning. This is the final kilometer. Looks like we have a little bit of a problem there for Callan O'Brien. He is out, but that sprint train of Jaco Alula on the left side is still doing pretty well. On the right-hand side, we have the train of Quickstep. Through the middle, we have Rickaard together with Philipsen. On the wheel of Philipsen is Dylan Groenewegen. Also in the colours of Q36.5 is Moschetti. Kokar is there as well. Everybody is there. And this is the final lead out by Morkov, casually glancing across the shoulder to see if Jacobsen is still there. He is on the wheel of Jacobsen. We have Philipsen, and now it's Philipsen and Jacobsen sprinting against each other. Dylan Groenewegen also sprinting for the line. And it... Ooh, I can't say.
Photo finish there, but for me, I think taking a bit of a guess there and an unfortunate incident there coming into the finish, but I really, nasty one. I really do think that Jacobsen, and the reason for that is we'll see it again in the overheads, but it looks as if Jacobsen, the European champion, got that. But another podium finish for Dylan Groenewegen, close by Philipsen. But let's see what the end result is. But Philipsen was forced to go the kind of long way around there.
Well, it looks like everybody's congratulating Groenewegen here. But it would be nice to have a helicopter shot because there was a little bit of a turn there. But it looks like they also are waiting for confirmation. But I'm trying to listen to the announcer there. But the TV director, no, the TV director has his eyes set on Groenewegen. Caleb Ewan was not part of the sprint at all.
No, it was three across the road, wasn't it? It was Jacobsen, Philipsen and Groenewegen.
All three of them are former winners of this race, and it looks like we haven't decided yet, or the jury haven't. This is not up to me to decide. The jury hasn't decided. Is it Philipsen? Is it going to be Jacobsen? Is it going to be Groenewegen? I think everybody's still awaiting the outcome of the commissaires. He says, no idea. I don't know if I have it. Well, this tourist is waiting, is asking, did you win? And Philipsen said, geen idee, I don't know. Oh. Jasper Philipsen is announced as winner. And now we're going to watch the sprint again, Brian.
Yeah, watch this. He's got a teammate in front of him on the left-hand side. He looks, but he goes to the left, kind of blocks them over. But this time, Morkov is kind of leading out Jacobsen. He's just kind of holding back to rush in. But when he goes the quickest way to the finishing line. Watch Philipsen. He goes the long way around to the left. Quickest way was where Jacobsen went. Dylan Groenewegen came up very, very quickly here. Did think that, it was in the shove. I think Jacobsen ends up in third place there. But both Philipsen and Groenewegen come round a long way.
Yeah.
Jacobsen had the quickest way to the line, but I think he might end up third in the throw there.
Yeah, with Kokar in fourth. Oof, that was very close between Groenewegen and Philipsen. But yeah, he is announced the winner. Yes, there is the confirmation. Jasper Philipsen wins again, just like he did in 2021. After a rather magnificent sprint here in Kampioenschap van Vlaanderen, Koolskamp. So we have Jasper Philipsen, Dylan Groenewegen, Fabio Jacobsen. That is our top three, and that is of course a dream result for the organisers here, having these three guys on the podium. We didn't see Caleb Ewan, we didn't see Gerben Thijssen, although he was wearing that distinctive jersey there, to see who has won the overall in the Lotto Cycling Cup. But I do think that Caleb Ewan might actually have to go to the podium to get that that overall win, but we'll wait for confirmation there. It's career win number 35 for Jasper Philipsen, and his first win actually since his quartet at the Tour de France. So good to have him back. No, of course he won in the Renewi Tour as well. Good to have him back to his winning ways. He's got a pretty busy program still coming up with on Sunday, the Gooikse Pijl. Then a semi-classic Paris-Chauny the week after. He's going to the Lotto Famenne Ardennes Classique, Sparkassen Münsterland, and then 8 days of the Tour of Turkey. And the Tour of Turkey is also on the planning, or it's planned, that Mark Cavendish is going to return to competition in Turkey, a race that starts on the 8th of October, which was, of course, postponed from April due to the earthquake we had in Turkey back then. Turkey and Syria, I should say, because the damage and the pain in Syria was just as big as it was in Turkey.
I was just looking at that replay again there. Jacobsen, I think he was dying a little bit and he threw a little bit too early.
Philipsen, Groenewegen, Jacobsen, Kokkaar, Moschetti, Sarrault, Stuyven, Beulens, Einhorn and Nizzolo, meaning that Beulens is the best rider for Lotto Destiny here. But a good win there for Jasper Philipsen here in Koolskamp. Yeah, career win number 35. He's only just 25, so quite a lot to go for the Vlam from Ham. Ham being the town where he was from, and Vlam meaning flame. That is his nickname. And if you do the Brussels Cycling Classic, for example, we come through the town of Ham, which is always packed with his very enthusiastic supporters group, fan club. This is a flat country.
You live in one. You live below sea level.
Yeah, I do live below sea level, yes. My Wahoo was completely confused the other day. There was a thunderstorm coming in. Apparently that has an influence. I did my normal like 75k route, and normally that's like 30 meters of elevation, and all of a sudden I had 331. It's like, this is not for real. I think we are confused here. Let's listen to the interview.
We zagen net de uitslag hier op de tv.
Congratulations.
Ja, als je de namen bekijkt, het lijkt wel een toersprint.
If you look at the names here, it looks like a World Championships of sprinting.
Een ander deel van het seizoen.
Yeah, it's a different part of the season. And there's always a field here of fast sprinters.
Enkele hoogtemeter bijna aan het parcours. Dus
there is hardly a meter elevation on the course. And we almost always end in a bunch sprint. It was an easy day out.
Aangekondigde massasprint.
And
ja, die sprint
with a good
zelf,
sprint.
Ze zeggen wel eens sprinters weten wanneer ze winnen, maar dit leek niet het geval, of wist je het toch?
Sprinters normally know when they win.
Dylan heel sterk opkomen.
Yeah, I felt that Dylan was coming up.
Heel sterke sprinten.
And Fabio also did a good sprint, and in the end it was very close.
Wint Dylan of Fabio, maar
it could have just fallen the other way.
Onze co-commentator Seb van Marken had het erover dat sommige renners wel eens septemberitis hebben, een beetje uit.
He's explaining about septemberitis, which is like fatigue in September. But it doesn't look to be the case for Philipsen. He's just back from Tenerife, where he had some good training. And I do hope to add a few wins to the season this year.
Het seizoen nog heel positief af te sluiten.
And to end the season on a high.
Positief. 12e zege al dit seizoen. Ja.
It's your 12th win this season. You can't do any better, I think. I think this is my best season so far.
Ik hoop de lijn door te trekken.
And I hope to continue on the same high.
Zeker nu de komende wedstrijden zijn bijna allemaal sprintwedstrijden. Dus,
the upcoming races are almost always bunch sprints.
Zoveel mogelijk door te
so
trekken.
I hope to continue
hoe heb je die
on
beleefd?
in this way. How did you
de ploeg weet ondertussen wel wat ze ongeveer moeten doen.
The team knows by now what they have to do.
Jonas was er ook bij. Dus,
Jonas and Ramon were my lead-outs, Sinkeldam and Ricard. And they put me in the perfect place so I could do my sprint. I was on the wheel of Jacobsen. It was a tailwind sprint. So I could win on rounds per minute.
At Koolskamp, after a long and hard season, what does that mean for you?
It's always nice to win, and you have to enjoy every win you can get. it's very hard. But now, when everything goes good, it seems or it looks like it's easy, and then you only think how hard it is when it goes bad. So try to enjoy this as much as possible, and then end the season in a good way.
Okay, thank you.
His first win came in 2018 in the Tour of Utah when he was part of the Hagens-Berman action team. I always forget that Jasper Philips was part of Team UAE for 2 years. He's really good friends with Tadej Pogacar. But he joined Alpecin Phoenix, now Alpecin de Koning, in 2021. And that is when he really started to win. 2 stages in the Tour de France last year, 4 this year. Absolutely stunning. Also won Scheldeprijs this year, for example. He won 2 stages in Tirreno. He won a stage in the Renewi Tour, which we just mentioned. Classic Brugge de Panne, to name but a few of his wins. And now Koolskamp Koers. And I mentioned the races that are on his program for the upcoming weeks. And, well, you know the Tour of Turkey as well as I do, Brian. We've been there together. It's usually at least 5 bunch sprints out of 8. Oof,
yeah,
nasty crash there by Norsgaard. Yeah. Oh, poor Matthias.
At that speed as well.
Oof. It's Matthias Norsgaard, Abner Gonzalez, part of that crash for Team Movistar. And one of the riders there for Bingo Wallonie-Bruxelles. And that is Matteo Malucelli. Hopefully everybody's okay. But yeah, there was no Septemberitis there for Jasper Philipsen, which is something that sports directors, and in this case the interviewer was referring to the Sporza commentator Sepp van Marken. Septemberitis is what sports managers sometimes say is the fatigue at the end of the year, that riders are just not motivated anymore in these final season races in September and October, the likes of, these one-day races, but also Guangxi, that's back on the program. A lot of riders are not that enthusiastic about doing races at the end of September, early October, and they call it Septemberitis.
I'm still motivated. I'm looking forward to the Tour of Turkey.
You have a pretty busy program coming up, yeah. We're going to do some middle-of-the-night races again, Brian, with the Tour of Langkawi.
That's not middle of the night.
I don't know, I haven't seen the
times
times
yet.
yet.
It's first thing in the morning.
It's 7 a.m, yeah, so I can go on a bike ride afterwards. But you don't drink coffee,
That's the middle of your night. 7 a.m. is the middle of your night.
It's not the middle of the night. I've got 2 dogs. They wake up at 6:30. It's like, okay, Mum, it's day. Let's go out.
You have to get them out early because we'll be doing sound checks at that time.
I have a husband who is normally in charge of dogs. No, he is in Boston. I'm in charge of the dogs that week. Oh, that's going to be challenging.
Don't they know where to walk themselves?
No, sorry. One of our dogs is completely naive.
Dylan Groenewegen, 6e keer op
Dylan
het podium
Groenewegen.
hier.
Yeah, it's your 6th time on the podium here.
Hoe heb jij die sprint beleefd?
How did you experience the sprint?
Heb je er vrij weinig aan. Maar,
yeah, it doesn't really buy you anything being on the podium in 2nd place. But it was an honest sprint.
Philips was net iets eerder bij de finish.
And Philips was just a little bit earlier at the finish line than I was. So he's the winner. Yeah, Philips is almost unbeatable this year.
Voor hem, ja, dat zeker.
Yeah, it really falls the right direction for him.
Ja, uiteindelijk kom ik net ietsje te laat.
And I'm just a little bit too late.
Kunnen doen.
So we have to look at what we can improve.
Of je gaat net te vroeg of net te laat. Of zoals Philips net op het juiste moment.
There's 3 options. You go too soon, too late, or just at the right moment. And Philips went at the right moment.
Die finish was heel nipt. Hè. Had je enig idee van
wie gewonnen was? So very close. Did you know who won?
Ik had het wel gehoopt.
I hoped I'd win.
Ik had gewonnen. Zeker na de Tour waar ik een paar keer
after the Tour de France, where was beaten.
Pech op een slecht moment.
And last week in Fourmi, where I had a mechanical in the final K. My legs were good, this was the goal, but I just was too late.
Geweest, maar het lukt maar niet. Hè. Hoe hard hunker je na die overwinning?
You're close so many times this year. I did win 6 races.
En zeker als het er gewoon in zat. En vandaag zat het er zeker in.
But it's always hard to lose, especially if you know that you have the legs to do it. Today, a little bit more would have been possible for me.
Die is er nu ook volgende week dat Europees kampioenschap gaat
impressive
vind je dat jammer?
sprinters in the Netherlands.
Vind ik het jammer.
Are you sorry that you're not doing the European Championships? Yeah, it's a shame.
Ik heb NK er ook gereden. Het is wel iets anders, maar het is gewoon heel erg zwaar. En ik denk,
I did the nationals there on the Van Berg. It's a really hard,
zeker in begrijpen.
really hard race. And I understand what Koos Moerhout, the national coach, did here. Yeah, do you still have motivation to give everything at the last month of the year? Yeah, the 2 second places do trigger me. They do motivate me. And I really want to be on that high step of the podium. There's enough races left for me in Belgium this year. So, really motivated there, Dylan Groenewegen. Yeah, we're back tomorrow, Brian. There's really no avoiding us, is there? We have a pretty interesting race coming up tomorrow. It's the former Grand Prix Peter van Petergem. It's now called the Primus 8. I think it changes names basically each and every year. Super 8 Classic, it's now called.
It's one of these races that changes its name every... It's probably the most changed name of any event that I know.
It's really confusing, but we have Mathieu van der Poel tomorrow on the start line for the Super 8 Classic. It was also the plan for Wout van Aert, who has his birthday today, happy birthday Wout, to race, but he's a little bit ill, so he is not racing tomorrow.
Dat gevoel?
Ja.
I was on my way to the win, and then Jasper and Dylan came alongside. The team was really strong, but I was just not fast enough. I was close, but unlucky.
Wellicht niet.
It was an honest sprint.
Denk het niet. Ik zat er.
No, there was nothing else I could have done.
Jongen van Uno X tussen zat. Maar ja, ik sprong er naartoe en dan hou ik snelheid.
I jumped and kept my speed.
Iets later begin, dan hou ik het wel.
And maybe if I start my sprint a little bit later, I keep that speed.
Over de topsnelheid.
But the other two guys had a little bit higher top speed than I had. And if I had come from the back a little bit later, I could have get past, but it didn't happen.
Maar ik heb ervan genoten van de trui. En,
yeah, we have a different selection at the Europeans this Sunday in Goik. It's going to be my last race in the jersey. And then it was a great year in that jersey.
Hoe hard wil je nog een cadeautje geven aan een afscheidscadeau aan Soudal Quickstep?
Yeah, do you want to give a goodbye gift to Soudal Quickstep at the end of the season? Yeah, of course I will. I will try to keep on winning, especially also with this jersey. I think I've got 2 or 3 races left, and I want to say goodbye to the team in style. Yeah, he's going to DSM Firmenich next year for a 3-year contract. They just announced 3 more riders going back to a more Dutch vibe on the DSM team. Gijs Leemreize, climber for Jumbo-Visma. Timo Roose, former national champion as lead out. And Bram Welter coming from Arkea or Groupama FDG, one of the 2. So as a lead out for Jacobsen. So they're really working on that sprint train there for Jacobsen next year. The entire composition of the team is going to change next year for DSM Firmenich because, to be quite honest, they're not the most winning of teams this year, are they? But yeah, tomorrow, we got a pretty impressive field. We got Mes Pedersen, for example. It's not confirmed just yet, I think, the team for Lidl Trek. But it's going to be an exciting race tomorrow, and we'll be on at 3:45. That gives me a lot of time to put in a big ride tomorrow, Brian. Our summary of today's race, Kampioenschap van Vlaanderen edition 108, 165 kilometers, 11 laps of 15k, a breakaway of 4 with Belgians Gijs van Hoeken, Thibaut Verhofstadt, French rider in pink, Samuel Leroux, and a Swiss rider for Q36.5, Fabio Christen, the youngest of the 3. And then in the penultimate lap, they were caught by the peloton. The pace was really, really high in that finale. There was a little bit of wind, but on the circuit, it was never the stretches of rope were never long enough to really make a difference. Sadly, we also had a little bit of a crash here, not taking out any of the big favourites, and then that speed towards that final kilometre was so high. Impressive train there for Jaco Alula, and on the other side the train for Jacobsen, for Soudal Quickstep, with Morkov as his last man, as happened so many times. On the wheel of Jacobsen we have Kokar, on the wheel of Jacobsen we also have Philipsen and Groenewegen going all the way around, and then in the end the top speed, the highest speed was by Jasper Philipsen, just beating Groenewegen by an inch. And Groenewegen said in his interview, Brian, that it always falls, it seems to fall Philipsen's way this year quite often. Of course, we have seen a lot of close sprints.
You make your own luck. You make your own luck, and like you also said, Josie, that right time, right place, and launching your sprint at the right time. You heard from Jacobsen, he was tying up a little bit for that. He a fraction of a second he's thrown his bike because he knows they're coming. The fastest in the last 50 metres there was Groenewegen. He was on the wheel of Philipsen and he made up almost a bike length. So that's the difference in sprinting. You know, the quality sprinters, and each three of them could have won. If Groenewegen was in Philipsen's place on Jacobsen's wheel, I think Groenewegen would have won. It's all ifs and buts and it's split-second decisions. So over the last part there, Groenewegen came from a little bit further behind. Jacobsen started his sprint a little bit too early, and it just so happens that the winner started at the perfect time.
And then we have this lovely jersey. Yeah, they were on the podium together as well, Jacobsen and Groenewegen, as they have been so many times in the past. Third place there. His last race in the European Championships jersey will be on Sunday in Gooik, which is just outside of Brussels. Also a pretty flat race. So he's going to try to give Patrick Lefevre's team one last win before moving over to DSM. Second place for Dylan Groenewegen, doing one better than he did last year.
Aangeduid als officieel winnaar van de 107e editie van het kampioenschap van Vlaanderen. Hij zet zijn zegenreeks waar hij eigenlijk al heel het jaar mee bezig is gewoon verder. De sprinter van Alpes in de Koning wint vandaag in Koolskamp. Uw overwinningsapplaus voor Jasper Philipsen!
And of course, a pretty popular man is Jasper Philipsen. Without Mathieu van der Poel as his lead out. Van der Poel, he is starting with number one tomorrow, but he said in the Belgian media, Brian, that he feels that he won't get back to form this year and he might cut his road program a little bit shorter than anticipated. He was fourth, I think, in Wallonie, but it was, it's hard to find form after you ticked off the main boxes, the main goals of your season.
Yeah, you can only have so many kind of peaks and troughs, and you have to have those troughs to have the peaks, so that kind of downtime and kind of refresh and come back. But I think it's more mental than anything else. Kermes King.
Yeah. What a great trophy that is. Yeah, we've got some big names going tomorrow in the Super 8 Classic, formerly Primus Classic, formerly Grand Prix Peter van Petegem, who's of course still the race director. And Brian and I will be with you tomorrow, 3:45 here on GCN Plus, Discovery Plus and Eurosport. And that's what you get if you are the winner. You get the Championships jersey. Oh, it's actually edition 107. That was 1 year too soon. There he is, the Championship of Flanders with the Flemish lion on his chest for the man from Ham. This was the Flemish anthem. Of course, the Belgian national anthem is called La Brabançon. But this one from 1845, 15 years after Belgium became independent, is the Flemish regional anthem. And they wrote it, Brian, because they were afraid to be annexed by France. So they thought, let's write a song that'll keep the French away from our territory.
And did it work?
It did work, yeah. The French, they were, of course, in Napoleon's time, they did annex Belgium, but in 1845, they were safe. Well, thanks for watching on behalf of Brian Smith and myself, José Been. And Brian and I will see and hear you tomorrow in the Primus 8, Primus 8 Classic. Tot morgen. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Van de eindlaureaat in de Lotto Cycling Cup editie 2023.